Welcome, everybody. This is Corrine Mills in the Corrine Mills podcast, Mothering the World with one mother hustler at a time. We have the wonderful Kim Ludeman on our podcast today, and she's going to share her journey and tell us all about it. Kim, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, hey, I'm just going to get right into it because I know the last time we've spoken, we had so much to talk about.
So much. We didn't even get to like a fraction of it, I feel like.
Yes, we can always do more. But today is my turn and I get to drill you based on your exciting journey with, what you had to do through. I'm sure you have adversities just like every single one of us. And the goal and the mission of the podcast here is to validate other moms like you and me, because we could be the best at what we do, but we have our days and sometimes we just want to throw in the towel and quit. And I always say you can quit temporarily, but pick it back up and go. And the other half of the mission is to evaluate moms, because moms, we do so much in our responsibility, and I wouldn't say nobody values us, but I don't think we're valued enough. And I love how we are empowering each other and really just supporting each other. So there's women empowering women, and then there's mom empowering moms. And I love the recent hashtag that I noticed called Mom Empowering Children. So yeah, well, welcome.
Can I write that? Hold on. I gotta write that.
She's all about her notes too, which is so amazing because she's so organized.
Oh my gosh. No, it's not. It's Post-its. I run on Post-its.
You must be a mother hustler.
Hey now. Maybe. I saw on Instagram, I think it was yesterday, Brene Brown posted this picture of a chalkboard that says, "I will not buy office supplies. I will not buy office supplies." And I resonated. It's like, I seriously live on Post-it notes and pens. And they have a short shelf life. They disappear. Yes. I don't know where all my pens go, but I have
super cool. So tell us where you grew up and how was your childhood? Because I always love to showcase the childhood part, only because I think a lot of the molding process of who we become starts there. And I love hearing people's childhood and how their parents raised them and what it was that they think they could credit to who they're becoming today.
Ooh, fun. Okay. Well, I was born in Sacramento, California, and we lived in a little town called Rockland, California. And I'm an only child, so that shaped me in a lot of different ways. And so my childhood was actually pretty rough looking back on it. Not in the typical sense of like, I got in fights and I had a bad attitude. Like, that wasn't it. It was rough in the sense that my parents didn't really know what to do with me. They didn't. I was loud and outspoken and opinionated, and I take up a lot of space, and I have big feelings and big dreams. And my parents were not that way. And so it was always a message of, you're too much. Like, you need to be quieter. You need to be seen, not heard. You need to wait your turn. You need to just literally take up less space.
Wow.
I know, right? And my parents weren't bad people. Not at all. I mean, and if anything, being a parent myself has given me such a whole new appreciation for the struggle, because it's real. Nobody knows what they're doing in parenting. Right?
It's true. There's no training for it.
No. And even if there was, it's so different for each kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we have parenting experts, but really the best expert is you, and I think that's something that we don't attribute to ourselves very often because we feel like we struggle. So at least, at least I do. I feel like I struggle, but we are our best resource.
Yeah.
So,
So with that struggle of always being like, I feel like what you're telling me is that you're not allowed to be yourself. Is that how you felt?
I think as a kid, I don't know, I'm sure I internalized it in a lot of different ways. One of the ones looking back now that I can see is I had a really bad sugar addiction. I
Wow.
mean, I would hide candy in my room. I would hide Pop-Tarts in my dollhouse. Like, I would come home from school and just go into the pantry and put frosting on graham crackers. And I would put like sugar in my cereal. I mean, I am shocked I'm alive. It was so bad. And then looking back, I think I felt the anxiety of my parents making me smaller. And that wasn't just my parents, that was family, that was friends, that was teachers. Teachers were a huge one. And all that pressure to be less and to be smaller, I used to call it meek and mild when I was growing up. Like, I
Wow.
need to be meek and mild. That needs to be me. I'm going to embody meekness and mildness. And I think that pressure led to emotional eating. Even as a kid, like I remember this struggle starting at like 5 or 6. Like as soon as I could make my own food, that's when it started. So
Wow.
it was really hard.
How did you handle being told to be meek and mild with your societal interaction, with your interaction with people and friends? Did you tone down when you got home or when you're around family and then you're back to being Kim outside of that?
I think that's a really good question. I think I toned it down all the time.
Wow.
And there would be moments where I would come out and then it would just be like, nope, you got to put it back in the box. Like you have to, sorry, UPS is here. You have to make yourself small. You just have to. And it wasn't until I would say maybe college when my parents weren't around anymore and my life changed dramatically that I was able to start looking at, well, who the heck am I? What, is it okay for me to start being myself? And what does that even look like? I don't even know.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what did you do from questioning? Because it's really a difficult, I call it a pocket when you're questioning something about yourself. And when you're in that pocket, it's very difficult to look beyond the pocket. It's frustrating. How did you, I'm guessing as a young adult, or maybe even you're still a teenager around the transition from high school to college, which is such a prime, scary, journey in our life when we're teenagers, because we could be very sensitive. And, a lot of the unfortunate things that happen, like suicide and all those other depression, happens in those teenage years because your identity is being questioned by not by other people, but by yourself, which is even more dramatic and more difficult because now you're left with yourself to answer that question when growing up, somebody's telling you, you need to be mild, you need to be this, you need to be that. But now that you don't have anybody telling you that, like how was like the whole process of who am I? How did you handle that?
Well, I kind of got a rough shove into it. So when I turned 19, my mom passed away from cancer.
Mm.
And she had battled uterine and ovarian cancer for almost 2 years. And she lost that battle right before I was scheduled to go back to college for my sophomore year. So it was like this huge, I mean, obviously huge transition for me, losing pretty much the structure of my family and my childhood and being kind of thrust into adult mode. So it was like growing up really quick. So just had to do a lot of searching, and it took me a really, really long time. I'll be honest with you, which is part of my heart and passion now is how can I help people shortcut this process? Because it took me, I'm going to say the better part of a decade to really process through what had happened in my childhood, how it had affected me, and how it shaped me into somebody that I didn't want to be. I don't want to take up less space. Like, I want to step into the fullness of my personality and the fullness of who I've been created to be, because that's where I find the most satisfaction. That's when I'm happiest.
Yeah.
And it just giving myself permission to do that, it took years. And I'm pretty sure I financed like my therapist's boat for the years that I spent in therapy. It took me a while because it's hard to overcome those messages. It's so hard to do.
Yeah.
You know,
you probably replay it in your mind. You know, you take up too much space. But my question to you is, when you were told you take up too much space, do you ever question if you did? Because maybe you were just being yourself, and maybe that's how they perceived it as. But for you, by being yourself, you're actually allowing space to get bigger, because then people can start getting to know the real you that's been crying inside to be the real person, to show up as the real you. But you're being, it's almost like a lid of a bottle. You're being put a lid, like people were putting a lid so that you don't blow out of proportion or something like that, because you have this big personality.
Yeah. And it's still something that I struggle with at times, as far as especially my emotional response to things. I'm very sensitive. There are a lot of things that, you know, send me through the roof. Sometimes I get really angry and sometimes I get really sad. And my husband is the exact opposite. He is Captain Steady Pants. And he does not get rocked. He does not get emotional. He is so like even Steven. And I'm over here like all over the place. And so even in my marriage, it's been really challenging to not keep the lid. I love that. Not keep the lid on. And like make it smaller to be more like acceptable to my husband, to, you know, my community, and to other entrepreneurs. You know, it's I want to let it out. I don't even think that answers your question either.
Yeah, no, it does. You
Sorry.
should let it out. Well, the question has a, like, have you ever questioned in the childhood, going through those childhood trenches, if you may, when people told you took too much space? It's kind of like, for a child almost, it's like, what space are you talking about? You know? I guess as a child, I was just really, I always questioned people, and people hated that with like with all of my questions, because I was curious. When people say something, like, okay, what space are you talking about?
Yeah, that makes sense. I was never a questioner at all. Like, if my parents said something, I did it. Like, I didn't drink till I was 21. I didn't start dating until college. I got great grades in school. I was, you know, model child, because if my parents said it, I did it. And so I took their word for everything. And so when influencers and adult figures, authority figures said, you know, you're too much, I believed it.
Wow.
Like, you must be right. I'm too much.
That's amazing. How do you parent now? Because, you know, obviously I always, like, there's a lot of ways that my parents, or my mom, I should say, that I do now, but there's also certain things that I'm like, I'm never doing that to my kids, you know? Like, how do you apply that to your own parenting now that you're a mom and you're in that position. You know, you're on the other side, on the flip side of now you're raising this little baby, little child, and getting them out to the world in the hopes that they don't think that they're too much for whatever space the adults say that they are, you know?
Yeah. And that's, you know, especially because I have an only child. So I feel like I know what to do for him. You know, that he needs to be, you know, around other kids, and that he has my, like, I call it a superpower with him. Like, you have superpowers. You are such a good hearer, and you can see things so well, and you can smell things so good, because he's super sensory like I am. And my parents didn't know what to do with that. But on the flip side, now I know what to do with that. And so instead of making him feel bad for having big feelings and a big heart, it can actually, like, lift that up in him and be like, you are, you know, you're incredible. Like, you have this heart. You know, here's what we do with our big feelings, and here's how we help other people with our big feelings. And Daniel Tiger, surprisingly enough, I don't know if your kiddos watch Daniel Tiger. Do they? No? Oh, Daniel Tiger is cartoon version of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
And it has been incredible. He started watching when he was about 2.5, and he's 4 now. And it's incredible. His sense of empathy and his verbal processing of things and his memory. And, you know, he sings these different songs to help him, like, manage his emotions. It's beautiful. I mean, I wish I had that as a kid.
Well, that's awesome, because I think a lot of, like, for my kids, I always tell them you could be whoever you want to be. There's enough space for your personality, and don't matter what people think about you. What matters is what you think about yourself.
Exactly. Yes.
Because that's kind of how I was raised too, in a culture where, you know, there's a lot of limitations. You have to be a certain this and a certain that. You have to be, like, there's so, I guess not limitations, but more like so many rules
or expectations.
And I don't like rules, and I don't like expectations. And for someone to always question everything, like, I was such an annoying child because I questioned everything. So I try to allow my kids that space to always question everything. And not have, like, because there were certain times in my childhood where I was scared to ask the question because I was scared to get in trouble. But then there's something inside of me that's also stronger force that says, go ask the question, because everybody else is thinking it. You just need to be the one to ask it. Yeah. Because sometimes that's what happens, you know, like, have you ever been in a group setting where somebody asks a question and you're like, whoa, that's like, I'm so glad you asked that question, because it's the same question that I have. So just living authentically of who you are and stepping into who you're becoming, whoever you want to become, and allow your children that space, because I think that when we limit them, that's how we condition their brain to have all those limiting beliefs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that you give your kids the space to ask the questions. You know, I think kids get put down for asking questions and asking why. And it's like, well, because I said so. And I definitely say that every now and then.
Me too. I do.
I'm not above that answer, but I try to answer as many questions as possible, because they have such a curiosity and such a curious spirit. And I feel like as adults, we lose that curious spirit. And then it's like, we just have no curiosity anymore, and we don't ask questions. And so then we're almost afraid to ask questions as adults. So I think it's so great that you're like the opposite, and that you do question. I think that's amazing.
Well, what I am trying to do is allowing my kids to be like me instead of being like adults used to get so annoyed by me and they shut down. So I'm allowing them to have what I was always denied of, but it was also, I was denied of, but I also did not take it. Like I, I acknowledged that they didn't like it, but I did it anyways, type thing. So I'm allowing them to do it anyways, regardless of what anybody thinks, as long as they're not breaking the law, as long as they're not doing anything bad or hurting anybody. Like I'm allowing them to see that I'm not annoyed by them, if that makes sense.
That's huge. That is definitely a mom struggle that I have is, not being annoyed and not treating him like he's an inconvenience to me. That's a big struggle. I'm so glad that you are just like on top of that.
It's normal, but you can practice it. It's normal progression for especially you and you mom. Are you having another child?
I don't know. It's like
You're so young.
it's so hard though, because being an only child is all I know. And
Mm.
I look at moms of multiples and I'm like, I don't know how you do that. I'm barely surviving with one. Thriving is my goal, surviving is my reality. Like, wow, that's incredible. And I hear all different sides of it, but it's hard. It's one of those decisions that I've gone back and forth on so much in the last 4 years. So much because I struggled with postpartum depression that actually didn't
Wow.
start until my son was 7 months old. And obviously, I did some really stupid things like working 2 jobs with a newborn. Like, that's not smart. Don't do that. Like having my house immaculate, cooking 3 meals a day, doing dishes, laundry, like being on top of everything, thinking I was superwoman. And then 7 months in, I crashed. And I guess I'm just really like hesitant.
Scared. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fear to go through that again because it's not a fun stage to go through. It's hard to be new mom. I remember it's a struggle. I struggled, but I think when you get to the second one, it's like, oh, I've done this before. I can do this again.
Yeah.
And they have a playmate. So it's actually easier when they have a playmate. But talk us through how you became a confidence consultant, because you were going through your childhood, progressing into questioning who am I, and then took you about a decade to actually realize who you are. So take us through, how did you stumble upon who you are now?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I am a slow learner, which is probably why it took so long. But the whole process has led me here. I have to believe in just like divine timing because
Mhm.
it's just worked out this way. So after college, because I had struggled with my weight as a result of the sugar addiction that I had,
Mhm.
and I started after college working at Costco and I got super fit. I mean, pushing those giant carts at Costco, they're huge, right? And sprinting to the back of the store and picking up boxes. And I realized that I was actually really strong. I was like, what? I'm strong? Like I can do things that are physical because I'd never been physical in my entire life. And so I started working out at the gym and
Wow.
taking classes, and I had a personal trainer and I loved it. And I was obsessed. I started running, and then I started looking at my nutrient intake, and I started restricting calories, and I started limiting foods, and it became this obsession with seeing how far I could push the envelope. How small could I make myself? Which went perfectly with what I was doing with my personality. Just how small can I get? How little can I take up, even physically? And
Wow.
I did that. I got really small and didn't express my needs to anybody, and I got just trapped. So I just exploded out of that into figuring out, okay, well, what does it look like to be healthy? I've never had this modeled for me. I have no idea what it looks like. I don't think I've ever eaten a quote healthy meal in my life. What
Wow.
does this look like? So then I got certified as a personal trainer and started helping people realize how strong they were. Because I'm like, if I can do this amazing thing, so can so many other people. You just need somebody to show you how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So after doing that and kind of going on my own nutrition journey, I started to see how much is dependent on your food intake. And so I became a nutrition coach. Sorry, my electric blanket is real hot. Um,
It is cold.
it's freezing and I have a blanket, but it's too hot now. Yeah, so got certified to be a nutrition coach. So I was doing personal training and nutrition coaching, helping people manipulate their macronutrients so they could change their body composition to what they wanted and get stronger. And, I had all these great intentions.
Was this before you were a mom?
This was after.
After.
Yeah. And had all, these great intentions. And, I had a steady stream of clients coming in, and it was about, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years into this when it kind of hit me upside the head of how much the change has nothing to do with the physical. It has nothing to do with it. And again, slow learner. It took me a while to figure this out, that when women came to me and said, I just need to lose X number of pounds, that's all I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or just tell me what to eat and I'll eat it. I'll do it. And I just need a meal plan, or I just need a workout program. And it took me so long to realize that that's not what they really wanted. That's what they thought they wanted, and definitely not what they needed at all. So I started to kind of address that middle space and challenge and push back on, well, why do you think you'll be happier X number of pounds from now? What's stopping you from being happy right now? And as I started asking more and more of those questions, it was incredible the answers that I got. And it was like this addicting conversation that I just wanted to have all the time. And so I started following that, and it's led me here to confidence coaching and helping women uncover what's holding them back from being their true self so that they can start taking up space in their life.
Wow. That's magnificent. From being an addict for sugar to becoming a confidence coach, because confidence is like a practice, right? Yeah. And you said something about what's stopping you from being happy with what you have now. And I think that when we can appreciate ourselves now, we can just take off from there. Because when you keep looking for that something, that six pack, that nice biceps, that stuff is not going to fix you as a person. Right? Yeah. And so I love that you're addressing that moment, who they are, versus trying to promise them, okay, I'm gonna do this for you, this and this and this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
And the real answer is really you. Like, who are you, and why do you want to be someone with the six pack? Why do you want to be someone with 5 less pounds than who you are now? It's amazing. And I hear you, because there's a lot of confidence coaches now that are just surfacing. And I think women really needs a lot of coaching,
I love it. I love that there's such a rise in the coaching community. I think it's fantastic. And, there's enough women out there who need it. And, even if you have confidence in these areas of your life, there's still these areas of your life that need some help and work. And each coach brings a specific bent, if you will, or a specific skill or take or technique to address these things. So it's so amazing to see the diversity in the field too.
Tell me about your framework for your coaching, or give me an example of a woman or a mom that is your favorite story that's came to you, and you both overcame whatever issue that she brought to the table for both of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure
So
all of them are your favorite, so I don't want to discount your other clients and feel bad when they listen to this episode. I want them to know that they're all special. But there's always those one or two clients that just makes you cry or just makes your heart like squeeze because you're so happy for them and that you help them break through.
Yeah. Yeah. They're so, I'm so blessed to have so many stories from women that I've worked with that just bring tears to my eyes. So many. If I had to pick one, there's so many good ones. Okay. Well, one of my gals from my Captivatingly Confident small group, the very first one that I did, she had so many struggles. And she thought that, I just need this, this, and this, and then I'll be good to go. And as we sat and talked, so much else came to the surface. It was like, she just looked at it and was just like, oh my gosh, this is not what I thought it was. And it was like process perfect. Like she got the awareness of the feelings and she felt the feelings. We cried together. She experienced them. And one of the things that she loved to do was paint. She loved to paint. And with life events that happened, she hadn't painted in forever. She's like, yeah, I used to do that. But I could tell that there was something there. And so I asked her, what would it feel like to start painting again? She's like, I don't know. So the next time we chatted, I look and there's an easel behind her with a picture on it. And I was like, girl, what is that? And she's like, painted. And you could just see, I'm going to cry. You could just see the difference in her face. It was visible, just the shift that happened when she moved from thinking that it was this to this. And just going through the process that I take all my clients through, that she was able to unlock something that she had locked away so long ago that brings her so much joy.
Wow.
And the picture that she painted was actually something that she had heard me say over and over again that I totally stole from someone else, but it was living your best life. And so she painted this beautiful picture and put on it, live your best life. And that for me was just like, oh, amazing. And it's so fun. I love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
What is your ultimate mission in this world? And what do you want Kim to, like, if you arrive in your ultimate goal, what do you want Kim to be, and who does that Kim, like, who is that Kim? Describe that Kim for me.
Oh my gosh. So I've had a vision since I was a little girl, very, very little girl, that I was on a stage.
Wow.
It's always been it's always been my vision. It's come and gone, but it's never really gone away. And when I look into the future, I have this vision of a stage and just being able to stand on it and to talk about taking up space, stopping hiding and embracing who you are and who you've been created to be. It's one of those things that you literally just decide to do. And I want to talk to everybody about it. I want to travel all over the world because I'm pretty sure that if every woman overcame her limiting beliefs, felt all of the emotions that she needed to feel in order to move forward and to take up space, that our world would be completely different. It would be completely different. All the women would be walking around tall and proud and taking up space and being captivatingly confident. And I think our world would change because we don't do that. We look at other people's lives and we judge ourselves based on what we see. Comparison is the number one issue for all of my clients that I've worked with in the last decade. Comparison, number one. And if we, instead of comparing, if we just started like lifting and like exactly what you're talking about, Crane, like lifting each other up, like a rising tide lifts all the ships. Like if there was just this tide of confidence and we were all riding it together, like my mind is blown. Who knows what could happen?
So true. It's true. So you want to be a speaker, like speak all over the world.
I think so. I actually just had my, again, late to the party, but I just had my first speaking engagement in 5 or more years.
I saw that because there's some moms that are part of mobs that I know.
Okay.
They posted they didn't tag you, but they posted it on Facebook and I saw it. And then I saw your post about your speaking gig at Mob and I just kind of put 2 and 2 together. So I'm like, oh, I know that lady.
Know her? Yeah, it was, I actually just changed what I was going to talk about in the car on the way to the meetup. So I was a little flustered, but it just feels like home for me. Like it just feels like home when I'm talking to people. I love big groups. One-on-ones intimidate me, but big groups, bring it on.
What was your topic and how long did you talk?
It was only about 20 or 25 minutes. And we were talking about, what did we even, I'm trying to think now. What did we even talk about?
I know it's funny because you said, like, I didn't even talk about what I planned on talking about because that's just how it is. You can never plan. And God always said, if you want me to laugh at you, then make plans because it never plans. And that's why, when my first keynote speaker, I truly surprised myself because everybody was like, yeah, I've been preparing but I didn't say the same thing that I was going to say. So I had the framework in my head, but it's a story as part of my life that I was going to tell. Therefore, I'm like, why would I practice it? I've already gone through it. You know, good for you.
Thanks. It was great. And it was, as you were talking, recalled it, but we were talking about how to let yourself off the hook during the holidays when it comes to expectations. And I gave 4 kind of practical things that you could do to help give yourself permission to not be striving for the best, to not be stressed out and anxious, but to just let it kind of be there. Stress and anxiety are a part of life. And to try to get rid of them is kind of silly and it's a lot of striving. And if you just learn to work with the stress, especially in the holiday season, because there's lots of it and it's complex. But if you just learn to work with it, then it's so much, you can just breathe, you can just relax into it. And it just gives you so much freedom to take up space, to show up, to be confident in what you want to get to.
Yeah, it's true. Because I think we try to fight all these emotions and it's the more you fight your emotions, it's that force versus flow, right? The more you fight with it, the more you feel it even it's stronger feeling because you're focusing on it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Thanks. It was
so you are part of Mob, which is mom-owned business, and Arya Lighty was actually one of my guests on the podcast, which was awesome.
Nice.
She's the founder of Mob. And are you an alliance member of Mob?
I am. And I think I can also say that I'm actually taking over the Portland chapter.
That's
in
awesome.
January as the chapter leader. So
Exciting. There's a
yes,
lot of exciting things happening for you.
yeah. And it's only been in the last, I'm going to say last 2 months that this has shifted. Captivatingly Confident is my brand and my business. And
Mhm.
it's only 6 months old.
Wow.
And just even the last 2 months has just been insane.
Wow.
Insane.
So
Yeah.
how did you do your podcasts come about? Because you're coaching women about confidence. You yourself is like your number one student, because we all are our number one student.
Always.
Um, how did you decide, or what made you decide to have a podcast?
My business coach that I was working with over the summer to kind of get things going had said, do YouTube, you'll be great. It's a great avenue. And so I tried YouTube and I was like, oh, I hate it. It's too polished, it's too edited. I can't do it. I can't do it. What am I going to do? And she's like, well, what about a podcast? I was like, I don't have a podcast voice because I was always told that I have a husky voice and it's hoarse and nobody ever wants to listen to it. The words of my grandmother. And she was like, Kim, you need to do a podcast. And I was like, oh, okay. So I bought a microphone and I sat down to do one episode and ended up with 10.
Amazing.
So I was like, oh, this is actually really fun and magical. I love this.
Yes, I love podcasting. So
Mhm.
if your mom was listening to this episode, and I know she's passed, but if she was listening, what would be your message to her?
Oh my gosh. I love that question. Oh, my message to her, because I've thought about this a million times. If somebody could just have, been like me for her, I would have said, stop hiding.
Mm,
Because that is exactly what she did. She wore baggy t shirts, baggy shorts. She was overweight and she wanted to hide her body, but she was hiding her pain too. She had a rough childhood and she
mm,
was hiding all of this and stress eating and not taking care of herself at all and just running herself into the ground. And I just wish that she could have stopped hiding and that she would have let herself take up some space and be seen for who she really was and the complexities of who she was. Like she hid behind humor too. Everything was a joke to this woman. Everything, which was embarrassing as a child because she would just do the most embarrassing things ever. Like this one time, we had just gotten done with what we called sports camp, which is where we bussed inner city kids in, and we just played basketball and we did small groups and we took them swimming and we fed them and we just loved on kids, these inner city kids. And this was my mom's like passion project. And so we all had these like coaches whistles. And so we walk into the restaurant one day to meet my mom for lunch with a bunch of other people. And she's standing on one of the chairs with the whistle up her nose, blowing the whistle as people she knew were walking in. Like, that was my mom. She was nuts. And she was, I mean, you kind of had to be there. I still have the whistle, actually. I still have it. But she just, like just hid. And it's sometimes hiding doesn't look like being meek and mild and quiet. You can be a loud hider
It's true.
and still be hiding. You can take up
Mhm.
space and still be hiding. And I just wish, because now I feel like I don't know my mom. I don't know who she really was. She was never in pictures. All the pictures
Wow.
I have of her are like her ducking out to get out of the picture. And just like you can see that she just didn't want to be seen.
She didn't have the confidence.
No, 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 no. I
Wow.
don't know.
What a great message, because, we coach ourselves, we coach women, and sometimes there's family members that really need our help. But yet it's really hard to coach a family member.
Yeah. Yes, it
I know
is.
you as little Kim and little Kareen, and how you're like, how could you coach me because I'm like older than you or something like that. But what a great message for your mom, because there's a lot of women. And the reason I asked that question is because whatever message you have for your mom really truly resonates with a lot of women out there. A lot of moms too, not just women, because some moms, they hide being a homemaker, they hide being a soccer mom, a stay-at-home mom, and they don't really have that confidence and even the value for, they don't value themselves enough.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the, like you said, limiting beliefs that they've heard over the years, and it could also be from your spouse, because sometimes our spouse say things that they shouldn't be saying. And we believe
never do that. They would never do that.
And then we start believing it for ourselves. And I think when they can hear your message to your mom, and you know, they do freaking a lot of work. Soccer moms do a lot of running arounds. Homemakers do a lot of responsibilities. And I think I hate that division of, a career mom and a homemaker mom, because we just need to stop it. And I think it also comes from that division. You know, there's a lot of divisions in society. And I think it also comes from that division of, you're not good enough because you don't have a career, or you're not a good mom because you're never home, vice versa. So we can hide behind our career. We can also hide behind being soccer mom, and we are so scared to go out of that norm.
Yeah.
Because we are scared to be judged. So anyways, I love that message that you had, because there's a lot of women that hides behind whatever they need to hide behind from.
Yeah.
What is your message to your son? Because when your son grows up, he's going to have access to a lot of technology. They already do now, but if he was listening to your episode, what would you tell him?
Oh gosh, so many things. I don't even know where to start. I would tell him to be you bravely. Just be you. Don't let anybody's words or opinions have the slightest effect on you unless it edifies you. If it doesn't build you up, then you just let that ish go, you know? And I just fully believe that people's opinions matter too much. Like if I hadn't cared, or if I had the, cognitive ability to separate myself from what people were saying, then who knows, and I wouldn't have spent thousands of dollars and years in therapy trying to overcome what I heard. And I just would tell him that you listen to the safe people. That's who you listen to. Your people that are on your team, that are cheering you on, that know you well, and will hold space for you without trying to fix you or judge you or correct you, just holding space for you. That's who you listen to. Not the bullies, not the naysayers, not the popular kids or the whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. Which, it's hard for kids to wrap their heads around that, but
if you keep telling them, they'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because you ever have moments where like, oh, my mom used to always say this. Now I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My grandma used to always say, do kind things to people because it'll come back to you at least 10 times more. And I never got that, because like how, grandma? Like, how is that going to come back to me 10 times more? And there was never an explanation for it. And now that I'm a servant leader and I'm always serving, people in the community, it's somehow the energy, just, what you put out there will come back. And I've experienced it. I'm like, oh, my grandma always used to say this. And that's why you just keep telling your kids. They say kids don't understand, but they sure do. They absorb everything. And even from the womb, they absorb everything. They just can't internalize it yet. But it's deposited in their subconscious mind.
True.
You know, the subconscious mind is super powerful.
Right.
Super powerful. It's like our cruise control. So if you can train that cruise control early on in the childhood years of your kids, that cruise control is going to be a positive versus the old, you know, like how you were raised, you were put a lid on. That's your cruise control. That's what's deposited in your subconscious mind. So that's amazing. One last question before we go.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So before I do that, I want to commend you for helping women like both of us to really walk the way that they are and the way that they should be, and to really show up as them. Because like you said, a lot of women hide behind, whether it's being quiet, mild, and meek, or being loud, because they're hiding behind that noise.
Yeah.
So I commend you for taking responsibility and being a solution instead of being part of the problem.
Wow. Thank you. Oh my goodness.
Thank you for showing up like you do. Thank you for bringing value to the world by having your Captivatingly Confident podcast, because I think that every woman should be confident. Like you said, when we become confident, we can change the world as a collective group of people. And women, there's more women than men in this world. And also we could teach men a lot of lessons too, by being who we are and by walking into the space that was created for us. So thank you for that. Now, before I ask you the last question, can you tell us and the listeners where we can find you, wonderful lady?
Yes, you can. So you can find the Captivatingly Confident podcast. That's on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Like there's so many channels for it now, or different apps and avenues, but those are the 3 that I'm on. And each episode's about 20 to 30 minutes. So it's really easy to just like listen to a quick episode on your way somewhere or doing dishes, what have you. So that is that. I'm on Instagram at kim.ludeman, Ludeman. They also have a website, captivatinglyconfident.com, where you can download my Beyond Balanced guide, which is 3 practical steps to becoming captivatingly confident. And it addresses movement, nutrition, and self-care. So that's available on there. And I think that's it.
Do you hang out on Facebook too?
I do, Facebook. Yes. Can't forget the good old FB. So if you search Captivatingly Confident, that will take you to the Facebook group. You can also do kimludeman.com. That will get you there. The community is incredible. We love having ladies come and join. The conversation is a great place to get support. And it's chill. It's super chill.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for that. So the captivating question. What is your definition of a mother hustler?
Oh my goodness. Mother hustler.
Mother hustler.
Mother hustler. I gotta say it with the little swagger in there. My definition of a mother hustler. I can't even say it right. Oh man. Showing up. I think it can be summed up in those 2 words. Just showing up as you are, showing up confidently for your kids, for yourself. I think that's the greatest gift we can give our kids, is just showing up and showing up for ourselves. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. Because when you see a mom who is comfortable in her own skin and is captivatingly confident, it's like a bug to the light. They're just like attracted, and you're just like, and you can't help but just sit up a little taller too. It's contagious.
Yep.
So that's showing up as you are. Be you bravely. That's my definition.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much. And I love our episode. Can't wait to release it.
Yes, yes, yes. And also, just for your listeners, if you haven't caught it, I got to interview Corinne last week. So that's episode 30 on the Captivatingly Confident podcast. So go hear her story. It's incredible. It's amazing. So go check that out too.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.